once you pass that education system, you graduate at uni, done. The next point of being able to measure yourself against someone is kind of money and lifestyle.
Today's topic of conversation, we're talking about looking rich versus being rich.
Let's kick off about what rich really is first. We're talking about rich in terms of money, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Money rich. For me, there's many aspects to it, but one of the first points I want to bring up, I don't know whether it resonates with you guys, is age. When I was younger, I definitely wanted to look more rich than I was then than I do now. Being at school, man's got the newest kicks, you know what I mean? They're like, yo, I want the newest kicks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, someone's wearing a hoodie, yo, I want to wear a hoodie. You know, that tracksuit come out, I want to wear that tracksuit. That kind of thing. Even though, obviously, at that time, I probably wasn't even buying them myself. But I still wanted the newest thing. You know what I mean? Still wanted that fresh look. You know what I mean? Getting my hair cut all the time.
Yeah.
All these sorts of things are stuff that I wanted to have to do.
I actually think that's a really good place to start off the conversation, because it probably explains the mentality as to why people grow up the way most people grow up.
Yeah. I think an important point here is, and I think we've all felt this, is that, you know, when you're young and you try and look rich, at that point, you're not paying to look like that. But for some reason, you feel really rich for having those things.
Yeah.
And it is very cosmetic. I think something changes as soon as you start earning money.
Yeah.
That changes priorities. You get priorities.
Yeah. And I agree with Jamie's point, is that we've grown up in a weird era, right? So we've seen the introduction of social media. Yeah. And it's gone from that point of where you kind of look in someone else's life to now what people do a lot of is compare their lives.
Yeah.
That's the biggest social problem, is the comparison. It's not just looking at someone's life, it's comparing your life against theirs.
Yeah.
And that is what people are starting to sort of benchmark themselves off.
Yeah.
So where this whole thing is like, do I look as good as this person? Is my life as good as this person? Rather than, wait, what have I got? What have I achieved? And how do I get it?
Yeah. And that again, that stems into like the social media side, as are people really showing what they really have? You can go to the bank, take out as much money as you have, let's say 10 grand, lay it all on a bed, and you'll look rich. But if that's all that you have, you're not really that rich. So I think people really have to take a step back and think, okay, that person that I am envying, should I really be envying them? Because do they really have that lifestyle? You know, they're always happy. They have a perfect relationship. They have 6 packs. They have a Lamborghini. They have all this. Do they really have that? You know what I mean? Are they really happy? Those are the things that we got to start looking at.
For me, it boils down to 2 things. And it's a mental state of mind. And the 2 key mental elements would be happiness and that sort of sense of acceptance. Where, like, okay, in terms of acceptance, people want to show that they have these things. For then people to give them like, I rate him for having those, or, you know, this guy's balling. Like, people want to be known as something. Well, they want that status. They want that sort of word going around that this person, you know, dresses really well. They drive a sick car now, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And then it's also down to happiness. They use these things to maybe mask like a lack of happiness, wherein they don't have anything that fulfills their sort of daily needs. They chase after these material things to give themselves like mini boosts of, you know, endorphins throughout the day. I'm going to buy a Gucci belt. It's going to make me feel great when I buy this Gucci belt. I won't buy a carton of milk in a week's time, but fuck it. Oh well, I won't have cereal. Like
sacrifice.
Looking rich could also be food, like going to nice restaurants. You might not spend it on clothes, but you could go to a nice restaurant all the time, buy all the like fillet steaks you like, but can't really afford it.
Yeah.
And same thing, it boils down to Instagram. People taking pictures of their steaks and tagging, you know, I'm here, I'm in Nobu, I'm in this place, I'm in that place. It's like, great, go pay your rent. And it's not their fault. Society puts a lot of pressure on people to maintain some sort of appearance. And people spend a lot of money, unfortunately, like trying to maintain that appearance.
Yeah, but so I have a question. Do you think that this is something in the human DNA that causes us to act this way because everyone has it in them to some level.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Because I can only think, I wasn't a caveman, so I don't know what it was like, but I can only imagine that if a female was looking for a mate and she saw a caveman lift a boulder, another caveman who wanted that female would be like, oh, I'm going to find a bigger boulder and try and move that boulder. So I think it's just a natural instinct of competing, trying to always have that one up. And as the times have changed, the thing that we use to show off our superiority has changed. So back then it would have been a boulder or how many lions they killed or whatever it was. Now it's how many likes you get on Instagram or what car you drive.
Now that you've kind of raised the topic of what do you actually define as being rich, are we talking monetary value? Are we talking other values, right? Well, I think the immediate question that pops into most people's head is always money.
Yep.
It always goes back to money. And I feel like the big thing that changes for a lot of people is one, when they start like actually working for their money, they're not just getting it from some, parents or, another source. I think it's what Jamie hit the nail on the head with as well, is priorities and responsibilities. As you grow up, those are the two big things that massively change from taking you as, a child to a proper adult. Those are the two big things you take on, and then everything starts to seem a bit different. But this still kind of begs the question, like, there are still the majority of people, I think, that fall into the category where they still want to look rich rather than be rich. People want different things. And I don't think we're anybody to judge people's goals. But if your goal is to be rich, then you need to stop doing what everybody else is doing, which is trying to look rich.
Yeah.
What about people that are rich and look rich? As in, like, they make a point of showing that they're rich. Like, I've made it.
I hate those guys.
I think there's just 2 points here, right? So like, I think the guys who try and look rich, and that's what they're benchmarking themselves off, I think there's an inherent problem right there. If you're that type of person that is always comparing yourself to someone else on social media or comparing your life to someone else, there's something inherently wrong with the way you think. And at that point, I would say just get off social media. Like, forget it. You literally need to concentrate on yourself. You don't know what you are because you're benchmarking your whole life and what you expect as being an achievement or being rich based on what someone else has. So I think that's the story for that. And for people who are rich and then show they're rich, I think that's their choice, right? At the end of the day, they've done what they've done to get the money they've done, whether it's they've worked for it or they haven't worked for it, but they're in that position. I think at that point, it's whatever you want to do. Fine, if you want to show off, like you've got like a 30 grand watch or 100 grand car, whatever, fine. That's fair by you. And the people you kind of mixed with, if they enjoy that, then great. That's your life. That's what you want to put out there. But if you've really worked hard to get something, sometimes it's great to show, look, I'm treating myself with this, which is fine. And it's fine to show, but you probably need to be a bit mindful that if you are acting as a role model and that's what people are seeing, it does sometimes have a negative effect, especially for people sort of in the younger ages when they are trying to find themselves and they are going through that period of life.
But I think it does have a positive effect on the flip side too, because they're thinking, wow, this person has actually done it. They are rich and they are showing that they're rich. I think obviously the example that you gave, J Power, is more of the masses. They're going to be affected by it negatively. But I think some aspects of looking rich or making sure that people see that you're rich, some aspects have a good impact. Like they always say, you gotta look the part, right?
It's fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Fake it till you make it story. Yeah. But it's also that mirror aspect too. We want to mirror what others do, like automatically. So that's one thing. If you're hanging around the same group of people and let's say we all chill together and every time we meet up, you three wear suits and I don't. I just wear t-shirt and jogging pants every time. That's going to inspire me as a person to maybe get to that level of looking smart. But the fake it till you make it is a statement. But I think that's being lost on a lot of people now. They're very good at faking it. They don't even try and make it.
I think there's a wider scope of things. So I think a lot of our conversation has been focused on the person or the individual themselves, right? And how they, or the perception that they give other people. The other side to this is the people that receive it. Nowadays, we just live in a soft generation. Like, people are so touchy about certain things. It's natural as human beings to compare yourself to somebody else. right? It's always been the case. Everything that you do in life, most things end up in a competition. Even talking like exams, you got graded, right? And everybody
Mhm.
knows grades in class. And whether you admit it out loud or not, you're comparing yourself to the next guy. So I think comparison is quite a normal thing, but it's how you perceive it and take it on as a person. Because comparing yourself and measuring yourself up to somebody else can lead to maybe an inspirational drive inside of you, or it can tear you apart. The amount of exposure that you have to this many different types of people that live on the other side, that are part of sort of that 1%, people compare themselves to that, and instead of using it as inspiration to bring themselves up, it tears them apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
I
just
agree.
an excuse to bring the other person down. That's where you get the haters and the trolls and things like this.
Yeah, that's the generation we live in now, isn't it?
I think there's an interesting point here where it just stems something in me. A lot of it's about upbringing as well, right? So, like how you said, the education system.
Mm.
So every time we're put up against peers of similar ability and we're kind of competing against each other the whole time. I think these times have changed. So when I was growing up, it was mostly about coming top of the class, which means you're against everyone in your class, not you're doing the best you can do. Once you pass that education system, you graduate at uni, done. The next point of being able to measure yourself against someone is kind of money and lifestyle and relationships and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we start competing against each other with that. And it feels like, obviously, we're going to do that. It's been ingrained into us since we were kids. So how is it an issue? It's coming back from when you started, really.
Yeah.
I think that point sums up the whole importance of your social circle. Because if we're brought up in an environment where you're kind of taught to compete with the person next to you and not be competing with yourself, if your social circle is not doing great, but you're the best of your social circle, you still might not be doing great, but you'll feel good.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're the type of person that will compete with yourself, it doesn't matter what other people around you are doing, you're always going to strive to be number one.
Yeah.
The best of the bad bunch. I think a lot of people struggle with competing against themselves. You don't get a lot of that these days.
Yeah.
And that's where people are flawed, I feel. Like, they're not progressing further because they're like, you know what, I'm not doing as good as these people, but I'm doing better than those people, so I'm good here, you know? Whereas if someone's competing against themselves, they see below and above, but they don't really care. They're just pushing themselves to get better. A prime example for me is martial arts. When you do martial arts, you ain't trying to be better than anyone else. You got to make yourself better because every opponent is going to be different. So you can only consider working on yourself. Yeah, you want to be better than your opponent, but at the end of the day, you want to get that technique to the best of your ability. You know what I mean? So these sorts of things like sports and that, I think, are very key to ingraining that mindset, competing against yourself rather than your peers. As we've matured, us looking rich is, when I look in the mirror, is how do I look against myself? I don't care what anyone else thinks. Whether I'm wearing Primark or whether I'm wearing Gucci, it doesn't matter to me. If I look fresh in Primark, trust me, I'm wearing Primark. It doesn't matter. It depends what style I like and how I want to look. You know
how
what I
you
mean?
feel in it as well. Do you feel happy in it? I think, I know I said earlier about people wanting acceptance. I guess maybe the best way to put that, rather than people wanting to be accepted, I think they actually fear being like the loser.
The outcome.
Like people looking at them going, this guy's not done shit in life. Or so I am going to show that a picture on Instagram of me and my fancy watch that I just blew my salary on, because I still want people to look at me and go, hey, he's doing all right actually. He's not as bad as I thought, even though you're doing fuck all with your life.
Yeah.
People fear that sort of rejection or that element of not sort of being where they need to be. And as you said earlier, like, if you just focus on yourself, just ignore everyone else. Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I love saying all the time, man. I say to the kids that I coach all day long. And
Yeah.
those will be the ones that sort of blinders mentality, where the end goal is just improving yourself, figuring out what makes you happy and achieving that, and not looking at what the next man has. You'll find true value in your life. You'll know when you think you've made it, or you feel rich a lot quicker than you think you will. And you may not even have to buy anything fancy to show that you're rich. You might be just so content in what you've done in your life, and that you've looked after the people that you love, whatever that may be. Different backgrounds cause different sort of outcomes.
Yeah. Let me put a spanner in the works, and let's talk about two of the richest people, Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs. Those two guys do not look rich, right? But they're two of the richest guys from our generation. Let's talk about those.
They have a vision. going back to like Start With Why by Simon Sinek. First thing he says in that book is establish what your vision is, your vision statement, and work towards that. And their goals are bigger than themselves. That's what gets them out of bed. Is I have to do this because this is what I'm trying to achieve, and that's what drives them.
On the same page though, do you think they started their companies with that vision though, or was that vision what became the next thing?
It may not have been as. I think they had a vision of I want to change the world.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I'm going to change the world, but I want to try. And as they got nearer and nearer to that financial sort of element, it was, I think I'm going to do it this way, or this is what I'm going to do specifically. And I think it was Bill Gates was quoted as saying, everyone talks about the billions, but once you get above like 100 million or whatever, it all feels the same. Like there is no difference.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know how true that is, because he's got loads, so he's probably lost in that.
I feel like a core theme which is going to differentiate people that live in that 1% and kind of everybody else is what their priorities and goals are, exactly like Jamie said, right? And for me, the big difference comes to whether they prioritize their social status, whether they consciously or subconsciously think that, over financial independence.
Yeah.
So do you think this is a phase, or I want to put it out there, do you think that that's a phase that every human has to go through at some point? Because I guarantee you at some point, Mark Zuckerberg has pulled money out. Even though he never shows it, at some point he's going, oh yeah, cool. Let me buy 10 Lambos right now.
Because
you know what I mean?
Values change in life. Your values won't always be the same from day one. And as your values change, your spending habits will change. If fashion brings you value in your life, you're going to spend money on buying nice clothes and buying the latest trainers. If feeding homeless people brings you value in life, you're going to work your ass off and build a product around supporting that mission. So as your values change, as we can go back to the beginning about maturity, those change with maturity as well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, let's say my value is just to feed as many people as I can, right?
Yeah.
But by my journey, I then become a billionaire. As I'm going through that journey, is there going to be some phase where I decide, you know what, I'm going to spend some money so I feel rich?
100%.
That's what we're talking about.
Have you ever thought that billionaires, if their values are much like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, the people that don't look rich, what if their values are like their portfolio, and them splashing out is not buying, a fleet of Lamborghinis? Actually, it's buying Instagram, buying another massive company, right?
That's
you see it as a business takeover. For them, that could be their inside. Instead of buying 10 Lambos, I'm going to buy out my competition.
Yeah. That's showing I'm rich.
I think the bottom line here is how strong is your why. Let's go on the opposite side of the spectrum. Jordan Belfort. So his prime reason for doing what he did was just to get rich.
Yeah.
And he lived that luxury lifestyle. Everything was just for show. It's your why. That was his why. So his why was just to earn the most amount of money because he wanted to be rich, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. That's what we perceive him as. That's what we saw him as. Steve Jobs' idea was to change the way we live our lives, to change the way we interact with technology. And he went ahead and did that. And that's how we see him as. We don't see him as this uber rich guy and he was splashing on cars and all this. It's how strong is your why? What is your why? It literally comes down to that. I think we've all gone through that stage, right? So we kind of followed the same path where we were all like, I want to be rich, but we didn't know why we wanted to be rich. Yeah. And then once we started earning money and decent money, then we're like, wait, okay, so we've got the money now, but why did we want this? What was the reason? For us was always about, we want that independence. We want to step away from having to wake up and go to that job every day and rely on someone else to give us that income. And that why has evolved us.
I think
our mind.
I think another level on this though, but I think the majority of people haven't even defined their why.
No.
Like, you can ask someone, do you want £1 million? And they'll be like, hell yeah. Why do you? I just want to be rich. Like, that's their response. They don't know why they want it. They don't know what really fuels them. And I don't think they've actually ever sat down to question it.
I don't think they will. This generation that's coming up, millennials, I don't think they'll ever get to that stage. And what they call a midlife crisis may not even happen for this generation.
I think I go against that point. I think people are having midlife crisis earlier because they haven't got what they want.
Yeah.
And
I can agree with that
that
too.
midlife crisis is actually depression because you're depressed about your comparison to someone else.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of insecurity. We're breeding insecurity.
That feeling of self-worth. Are you worth it? Are you doing what you should be doing, fulfilling your potential? All that pressure. And no, I agree, man.
I feel we're going through more midlife crises. So if you look at someone 20, 30 years your senior, they probably had one breakdown where they start reviewing their life, like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? Whereas I think now we do it a lot more sort of consistent.
I do that every day.
Yeah. So that is massively fueled by social media and stuff, I think.
I feel, that's for our generation. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about the younger gen, like the next one. I don't think they're going to have midlife crises.
I
Like
think
early.
they're worse than us.
Nah, I have to disagree. I think they don't even have it. They're just like, I don't care. Whatever.
Nah, I think it's the opposite.
Yeah?
I think they care too much.
But do they get their why from it though, is what I'm trying to get at.
That's the thing. I think that doesn't stem in then. I think we're gonna hit a generation that are so confused. They're gonna keep having that midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna go deep enough.
Yeah.
But one last thing. Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah.
What are thoughts on Dan Bilzerian? Because he's the epitome of looking rich.
Yeah. He
But he
did
must be rich.
a really good interview once where he talked about the idea of can money buy happiness? And his ultimate answer was it can't, right? Money doesn't buy happiness. Money buys joy and pleasure. And those two things are very short term. Happiness is a much broader, deeper subject, right? Which can't be bought by money, but it can be bought by freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, in a very, very short way, is how he kind of summed it up.
I think Dan Bilzerian is a prime example of what we were discussing sort of throughout the whole thing is people are using social media now to get rich. He was already rich, but he used social media to get even richer.
Mm-hmm.
So he used that rich lifestyle to make him rich.
If you look at him, he's a hard worker, right? At the end of the day, he's a brand out of himself. But like you look at him now, right? He started this Ignite business. How many other people are out there looking at his lifestyle, starting businesses and hoping to grow something and add value to the world? He can sit on this cash and he can retire. He's retired, right? He doesn't have to work, but he's got this vision. He's got a passion. And he wants to follow it. So good on him. I was going to say, I think a good way to wrap this up, we should kind of go around, right? And let's redefine what we saw previously 5 years back. What was being rich to you, and what is your definition of being rich right now?
Cool.
Alright, how about we do, I've got my timer on, we do 30 seconds per head. You can say that and then add anything else when you wanted to add.
Yeah, even just a couple sentences is good.
So for me, 5 years back, being rich was literally having X amount of money and having a car, like a really flashy car. And now, for me, being rich is actually not monetary value, it's the lifestyle. It's literally waking up and doing what I want to do on a daily basis.
Alright, nice one, J-Pa. Who's next?
I'll go.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so I'll go 10 years back. Being rich would be nice cars, big house, don't have to work for money. Looking at what being rich is now is about having happiness in your life, family, food on the table, and quality time.
Sweet. 8 seconds remaining. Ooh. Get society. You gonna go next?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Alright. 3, 2, 1.
Very similarly, I think when I was younger, mine was very fueled by a lot of materialistic things. Clothes, cars, definitely a big one for me. Nowadays, I think being rich is, the only word that can sum it up for me is freedom. Just to do what I want, wherever I want, on my terms.
Cool. Alright. That was 9 seconds left. Even better. Oh, we're killing it. I got pressure. Right. I'll start mine now. For me, a few years ago, it was like you guys, material things, cars, watches, yachts. I still want a yacht. However, my priorities have changed and I realized where I should invest my money, family, quality time, financial freedom, and most importantly, eliminating boredom. Not sadness, because sadness you'll always have, but eliminating boredom out of my life. That's it. 6 seconds, not bad.